Welcome to WEHM All Access, the podcast where we bring you in-depth conversations with the people shaping life right here on Eastern Long Island. Now, every episode, we're going to dive into the stories, the music, and the voices that define our community, from local leaders to the musicians you know and love. And throughout the summer, we're catching up with many of the performers taking the stage at the Great South Bay Music Festival, getting the inside scoop on their music, their journey, and what they're bringing to Patchogue this year. On this episode of WEHM All Access, Kerry Kearney joins us for a reflective look at a career that spans more than 3 decades, from discovering the Beatles as a child to leaving the police academy for the road with Marty Balin. We talk influences, mentorship, longevity, and the Cajun-inspired performance he's bringing to this year's Great South Bay Music Festival. Let's get started with Kerry Kearney on WEHM All Access. It's the EHM Breakfast Show with Harry, getting ready for a fun weekend out at the Great South Bay Music Festival. And so many great performers, and kind of a mainstay of the festival year after year is Kerry Kearney. And back this Saturday, July 25th, on the main stage, kind of kicking things off on that day. Kerry joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Harry. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
For yourself? Very good.
We're doing good. Thank you for being a part of.
Good.
We've done the Battle for the Great South Bay over the past couple of years. You've been a great judge for it, and I appreciate that. So thanks for everything you do there, and kind of helping a lot of younger musicians. It feels like you're involved with over the past couple of years too.
Yeah, it's we got to pass the torch. I always say, make sure it's fun, and as long as they have a good upbringing in the music field, that's what it is, to get the right kind of music to them and stuff like that too. There's so much stuff out there that a lot of young kids don't hear that I kind of try to bring with the classic rock, with the old blues, even some jazz, some folk. And it's funny how they listen to it. They're like, wow, this is great. And all they got to do is be turned on to it. And then they really dig it.
Well, of course, you were turned on by the Beatles way back. And how old were you? Like 3 years old, I think I read, when you first saw the Beatles?
I was, it's funny. And what's funny about it too is that I had nothing to gauge it against. And the specialness and just the greatness of the Beatles. But I didn't know who Elvis was. I didn't know who so-and-so was. But to me, it was just like an unbelievable thing. Seeing that's how powerful they are. They were still to this day.
What was about that performance that kind of just imprinted itself so strongly on you?
I think it was just the music was great. They looked interesting, very different. But I find that the music was really got me. I mean, the first song was, close your eyes, and that was the first tune. And from that point on, and my brothers, they were all, I'm the youngest in the family. My oldest brother's he's 10 years older than I am. So he was about 13 at the time. So he had their album, he had the first album, Meet the Beatles, that we had in the United States. So he played it all the time. And I'd always tell him, play that record again. He wouldn't let me touch it, but, it's 3, so.
It's funny talking to you. 3 years old, my goodness. How old were you when you first picked up a guitar?
I wanted to then, as a really young kid, but I mean, not really doing it until maybe I was around 10. I really learned a couple of chords and got it like that. But it was between that and baseball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, wow. That's funny. A guitar or a baseball bat. You had older brothers that really love music too. And I find there's a common theme talking to a lot of different musicians where they really learn from their brothers' record collections, so to speak. And I feel like you're one of those too. What did you listen to?
Yeah, it's funny. So many friends, they have their siblings too, and we always used to bring albums over to each other's places and stuff. And but there was so much great stuff. I remember when I was really young, Beach Boys were big, Peter, Paul, and Mary. One brother's really into folk. I have 3 older brothers, and they're all older than I am, obviously. But one was into folk, one was into one was like a hippie type music, and one was doo-wops. So he was from the 50s type stuff like that. So I got all the stuff. And my dad was a tinkerer, and he made a beautiful cabinet. It was called a Heath kit at the time. It was just this big wood. It was like a thing he got kit. And he made that. And he had a beautiful Macintosh tube head we had. I remember that. If people are into audio, it's tubes, receiver. And that's what we had. So that was our thing. And it was really just an amazing audiophile type of upbringing. It always had a great sound to it. But the records just never stopped. My brothers were all into the top 10, the top 100 at the time and stuff. Back in those days with the AM radio at the time too. It was big.
Do you remember the first band you joined and how old you were?
Something that's funny. I was probably around maybe 11 or 12, maybe about 11 years old. A friend of mine, he was in high school. He was a little older than I was, and he knew I played guitar. And he said, "Hey, Kerry, you want to join a band? We're doing a band. I was like, sure, sounds great. I might have known maybe 4 chords, you know what I mean? But I was like, sounds good, sounds good. So we used to get together all the time. We play Crow, Stills, and Nash music, some Stones. He loved Stones, and a little bit of Beatles. And we just jammed. A couple of friends of mine. One guy played drums, bass player. I play guitar. And it was so much fun. It was like I just couldn't wait every day to get with them and jam and stuff. So it was good.
What was it like to try to figure out, especially at that age, your career? Because obviously music's a tough career. There's no real set path for it. What was that like? Did you have other options? What were you thinking at the time? And kind of how did you decide to make sure that you were doing music?
I told the story a million times. When I was in my early 20s, I was going to be a policeman, and I was already going to the academy. And I was a photographer at the time, doing stuff to make a living, actually, with a friend, and doing like a lot of weddings, stuff like that. And I played in the band also. I was doing stuff. But I had gotten a call from a friend of mine that was having a Toys for Tots benefit in San Francisco. And he was one of the Jefferson Starship's road guys, pretty much. So we opened up for Canton, Ballin, and Cassidy, called KBC, around 88, I think it was. And after I played, Marty Ballin came up to me and said, wow, man, you sound great. I thought he was being nice. Like I didn't, I was like, oh, great. So a few months later, a friend of mine called me from out there. He goes, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm not doing too good. Having a kind of a weird relationship back here with an old girlfriend of mine. And he says, listen, why don't you go on a plane and come out? Just come on out. So pretty much that night, I jumped on a plane. I never did it in my life, but I jumped on a plane, went to San Francisco, where he was out in Marin. And he ran this old church that Marty owned as a rehearsal hall, the church of San Anselmo, actually. And when I got there, he called Marty and said, hey, that kid is here that you like. I was like 20, 27, whatever. And he came over. We played a little bit, had a couple of cups of coffee. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, he said, listen, I'm coming back. You want to try some more music with me? I said, I'd love to. So he came back. Next day, he sat on the couch. After he played, he said, listen, I'm going on tour for 3 months. I want to be my guitar player. So I called back home and I said, listen, I'm not coming back to New York for a little while. So I canned the whole police thing. But I ended up, we rehearsed for about 3 weeks. And I'm sitting on the couch at this big church. And all of a sudden outside, a big bus pulled by, tour bus. And they came and they said, Kerry? Like, yeah. And he goes, come on. So they got all my gear, threw it on the bus, and I didn't come home for 5 years.
Wow.
That was it. Pretty wild.
Been doing it
but it was the most unbelievable. It was such a great experience. I highly recommend it for everybody if they ever get to that area in music to like just do that. It's really something that was really and it really shows if you really. I mean, there'd be like nights I'll be on the road. It'd be like 4 nights in a row. We'd be going like 300 miles. I'm on the bus. I couldn't really sleep. I was like so jacked up, a lot of coffee, and by like the third or fourth gig, I was like standing on the side of the stage saying to myself, am I going to be able to do this? I'm so out of it. But also I get on and I get another burst of adrenaline, and it's great. It's really amazing. Well, so I knew that was it for me.
For sure. You said your style blends Delta, Chicago, Louisiana, jam band influences. Which of those are kind of central to your identity today? How have you evolved?
I can't say I'm always changing. It's always in the same realm of music, whether it's like folky stuff, whether it's Cajun. By the way, I'm doing a Cajun show at the Great South Bay. We're doing I got a fiddle, I got accordion. So we're going to incorporate what we do with that, which is going to be a lot of fun. But I mean, I find I get a little bored with stuff. I think like all musicians do. But I try to keep the foundation and the basis of like the psychedelic stuff. Years ago, I played on with a Grateful Dead band, and I went up on stage. I played slide with them. And as I got off, somebody said to me, he goes, wow, that was like psychedelic. And I said, I'm taking that, man. Thank you so much. And so I kind of like wanted to fuse together like that whole thing, like that kind of classic rock jam band type thing with, blues, with, stuff from Louisiana, the Cajun, all that stuff like that, Chicago, Texas. And it's all, I mean, so many bands have done it, but they don't really label it. It's all just, rock and blues, what I mean? From, Johnny Winter to, Little Feat to whoever, Allman Brothers, obviously, so it's all out there.
Were the Allman Brothers, they were a pretty big influence on you, I'd imagine, right? Because you were around them for a bit.
Yeah, it's something. When I was very young, I really got turned on by the slide. And I started trying to figure it out. My brother one day showed me how to do it. And I got kind of into it and stuff like that, and kind of kept playing.
Yeah.
And I made an album. I made a CD called "Blow Your House Down" back in '99. No, I'm sorry, '96. And a friend of mine was a doctor for Ron Delsner. What he would do is he would be on call on the shows. And so what I did was he helped me finance a CD. We made the CD. He gave it to John Poldella's name was. He was the manager and the agent for the Allman Brothers. Not but the agent actually for the Allman Brothers. And one day I got a phone call about a week later. I'm laying in bed, and this guy calls me in the morning, and he's like, "Hey, Kerry, what's going on?" It's kind of funny how he talks. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I had no idea who he was. I was half asleep. And he says, "Listen, man, I love that slidey stuff. I got the CD. I'm gonna listen to it later. I'll call you back later." So all of a sudden, bang, and it was. And my friend called me, the doctor. He said, "Did he call you?" I'm like, "Who?" And he goes, "That's the Allman Brothers agent." I'm like, "Holy smoke!" So I got together with him. We went uptown. We had a little dinner at a restaurant up there, blah, blah. So he says, "Listen, all you need is one label, and we're going to get that. We're going to check it out." So he got me a label at Manny's Car Wash uptown. There used to be this great blues club up there back in the day. And so a couple of guys came in, said, "Hi, we're from the Red Company. We want to see you." So we went out. I played about 3 or 4 notes, and it was really crowded. I saw those guys walking towards the door, and they were leaving. I said, "I guess we kind of blew that." But that Monday, I was signing a record deal with them.
Wow.
So it was great. And he put us out there. John put us out, John Podell, with the Allman Brothers. We did the NASCAR Rocks tour. We started on smaller stages kind of things. Then we graduated to the big stage when we got to Atlantic City. And that was a big, my whole hometown came in buses. They all came to the big show. And so we would have to wait for a while. And then Dickie Betts, too. I got onto his tour. We were with him for a while, that whole summer after that. And that was a lot of fun, too.
Did you learn something from watching them perform as far as kind of that's influenced you to this day as far as seeing them on stage and night after night?
Well, you know what it is? The professionalism of all those bands, I find, is that they have a lot of respect for each other, number one. The stage volume is very low, which is amazing. When you always hear a band, you're always like, wow, you're blown away. But I mean, it's the PA that's really pumping it. But if you were standing on a stage with them near it, it's amazing how low the volume is, how they're hearing each other, and how it makes it like that.
Wow.
Which is I'm sure the Who is different.
Yeah.
Or
That's
but yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, but their way about what they do, they're very professional at what they do, obviously. And the people that work with them, they work with them for years and years and years. They have these guys that were always there, making it always work, always make it happen. And it's all about love, though. I mean, it's all about the love of what you do. You know what I mean? If you're there just for like the money or you're there for this or that, it's just not going to work out. You got to have something in you where you started in the first place because you loved it. You know what I mean? You have Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, they were in, that Hell House, they called it. It was a little barn place in Alabama in the summer, 110 degrees with no air conditioner. And you gotta have love. I mean, that's what it is. You're loving what you're doing, So yeah.
That's very true. And really, I feel like that's that mentality you've used. And it has to be you just celebrated 30 years of the Kerry Kearney Band. What's that been like to look back at the various people you've worked with in the Kerry Kearney Band and kind of look forward to? I love the fact you're doing the Cajun Review for the Great South Bay. Is there other things you mentioned you kind of want to try coming up with the band?
I started a little band with a couple of friends of mine recently. And what it is it's two female friends of mine, women. And I won't say it. But anyway, they one plays the accordion, one plays the banjo, and clawhammer banjo, very, very interesting way.
Yeah.
And we played one night at a benefit together. I got them together and we jammed. And so I'm going to do a couple of shows with them, actually, doing that kind of music. I love it because it's so taken away from what I normally do.
Yeah.
That it gives you another avenue, and it makes me want to come back to what I do at the same time. So that could be something new that I'm kind of thinking about doing. So it's pretty cool.
Of course, you've been inducted into the New York Blues Hall of Fame. How did that recognition feel, and kind of what's it like as far as you find your place in the blues community? Because you've certainly been kind of a leader there.
It's very surprising.
Wow.
A lot of times I look at it, I'm saying I don't even know what people are looking at. You know what I mean? When I'm playing, you know what I mean? But it's like it's a great thing. I'm very, very humbled by it all the time. Obviously, I try to keep my wits about myself about what it is that's going on with musicians, having respect for other musicians and this and that. And not really picking and choosing who I play with, but a lot of, they gravitate towards me, a lot of I gravitate towards them, and we put it together. And I find that's a great thing. And when there's chemistry there, I mean, you can't, I mean, I'll play tonight where one of them maybe can't make it to a show, and I'll have somebody else play. That's really, really great. But it takes me a little while to like get into the groove of it, because it's like an old shoe. When you have a band together, they all do this. You don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard. Well, I was mentioning the Who before. I mean, it's hard to like lose Keith Moon, who, I mean, to me is one of the greatest, like so unique players. Have somebody step in for him while they're playing, because it's so like abstract and unbelievably, musically poppy and rock and everything. And like I said, abstract at the same time, that any other drummer probably wouldn't, really make that happen like that. But yeah.
Are there, as you look at the Long Island music scene, are there certain, I guess, younger up and coming performers that you've recognized and are trying to help along the way? And I imagine there's a couple.
Yeah, I mean, there's Joe Lewis and the Groove. I like him a lot, actually. He's got like a little Steve Ray Vaughan thing going, and he played with Little Buster. He was a very famous blues band we had. He passed away a while ago, and he had some of his members of the band playing with him. And I find he's great. He really, really is good. And what's nice about him too is that he's around 27, and he has the love. Like he has the thing. Yeah. He has that. What I'm talking about. You got to have the love of it. That's what it is, So Cameron, she sang on my last album. We did a Christmas song actually on the last album we had. By the way, my last album hit the top 100.
Congratulations! That's pretty cool.
In the international big blues chart, and that was on it too. And it's really a great thing. And I mean stuff like that. It's like I find people. I see it. It's funny. Every time I turn around, Long Island especially, it's amazing the talent. Whenever you go somewhere, you're like, wow, listen to this. And guys like Jim Faith, who run the Great South Bay, keeps his eye out for that. I always give him a couple of times. I'll give him that thing. Even when we were doing the WEHM, band battle. Yeah. I mean, those bands are fantastic too. It's unbelievable. It's hard to pick somebody. It's funny. Yeah, when we're picking somebody out, we're trying to think like what day it's going to be. So each band is equally great, but if the day falls on a certain way of playing, and one band has that, that's what we're going to pick. But it doesn't mean the other ones aren't as good or can't do it. You know what I mean? But it's great stuff.
How long have you known Jim Faith?
Oh boy, maybe 20 years, possibly. I remember him calling me one time. He asked me if I would do a show he was doing, and this is before Great South Bay, and it was cool. What's great about Jim is that he gets it all going. I mean, he really does. I mean, for what he does, I don't know anybody else out there that really can make that work like that. I mean, there are great promoters of like individual places, but Jim's got I can't even imagine one day in his, making this happen, and like how many phone calls, how many emails, how many blah, blah, blah. And the people that work around him are all great. They're making it work. You know what I mean? But yeah, he's a great guy.
Very, very true. Thank you, Kerry Kearney. Cajun Review coming up on the main stage July 25th, the Saturday of the Great South Bay Music Festival. And Kerry, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you out there. And thanks for sitting down for a little bit. I appreciate it.
How are you? The best. Always, man. Love you guys. Thank you. EHM. Woo.